Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Tourismus Namibia. My name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of Allgemeine Zeitung and obviously responsible for Tourismus Namibia. But as you can see, I'm not alone in the studio. Welcome again, Irene Marie van der Walt. And she joined me last week for the first time, and she graciously decided that she'll take a deep dive into the show again. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. Welcome once more.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like always, we've got topics and then destinations, and to the point. We've kept it a bit different today, so hopefully you will still enjoy it. So up next would be topics.
So then it is once again my honor to introduce the first topic for today. Frank, if you spoil me so much, I'm going to expect it every time.
Okay.
So in our first topic for today, Najmun Nahari is a Bangladeshi woman who recently paid a visit to Namibia in her quest to visit every single country in the world. So over here you see Najmun enjoying the streets of Windhoek. So Namibia was the 148th country that she visited, and she visits more with the aims of spreading messages of earth harmony, world peace, and the abolishment of child marriages, among others. But she shared with me when I met her that she has a special love for Namibia in the sense that, and I quote, "This is the only country in the world where you can see the dunes on one side of yourself and the ocean on the other. Some countries have the ocean, some countries have a desert, but you have both. This is a very beautiful country and the people are so friendly," she said. So Najmun has had quite some adventures. She has been mugged and robbed in weird countries. She slept on the forest floor. She has had all kinds of adventures in an attempt to visit countries, yes, and to really get to know the countries that she's in and to do it as inexpensively as possible. So she was quite a character to meet.
Yeah, because I'm quite sure. I mean, it must be quite expensive to travel around. Has she got a sponsor, or is she doing this on her own?
She recently got a sponsor, but she has a master's degree. I can't recall right now what in, but she has a master's degree, and she works for a period of time, and then she travels for a period of time, and then she works again. So she literally stays in a country for a day or two, and then she's gone. So I was quite honored to, she was down the street from where I was, so I was quite honored to just, she's staying over there, and I met her, and she was absolutely lovely, down to earth, really, really sweet lady.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that's the first one. By the way, the photo that we've got as a background today is of the Independence Memorial Museum, and you will hear later on that Irene Marie has actually paid the place a visit. But up next, we've got rhinos, and this is actually quite a nice story. We had it in the Allgemeine Zeitung this week. And so Care for Wild Rhino Sanctuary in the University of Pretoria's Faculty of Veterinary Science and Honor Support were celebrating as a milestone now in terms of veterinary healthcare and diagnostic imaging, as well as rhino conservation, after the first ever successful CT scan on a live rhino. Now, this must have been quite a huge exercise, as you can imagine, and the rhino's name was Oz, and he was rescued and brought to Care for Wild for rehabilitation and release and later ongoing protection. So this is the team that you see there. So it was a huge exercise, and apparently what they found is when Oz was developing some form of bulge on his face, through the CT scan they were able to discover that he had an ulcer under his one tooth. So this, I mean, imagine lying a huge animal like this. I mean, they must have had a ball sometimes. But anyway, so they were able to help the rhino, and he's well again. So if you want to have a look at it, just Google Care for Wild Rhino Sanctuary. That's where I finally found the whole 9 yards, and actually they've got an update there where they report that he's well and fine, and you can actually see him running around there. There's a little video, so that goes to show CT scans on rhino. So if they can scan you, I suppose they can scan anybody. So quite a nice little story there, yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, the Etosha National Park, as well as Namibia Wildlife Resorts and the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism and the Haikom community have formed a solid waste management team to keep their park pristine. So the NWR Managing Director says that the solid waste management team is a great initiative as it offers an opportunity for different individuals within the Etosha National Park to work together. Because without managing our solid waste, we as Namibia risk our reputation of being the destination of choice for various tourists. But this was not the only celebration. They also celebrated Arbor Day, which Namibia has celebrated since 1992. And Arbor Day is meant to create awareness on the importance of conserving trees and discouraging human activities that threaten the sustainability of Namibia's trees and forests, such as deforestation and land degradation.
Anyway, so I'm actually delighted to see that somebody did something for Arbor Day, because I can remember years ago on Arbor Day you would have ministers, anybody that was a politician of note would visit schools, would do all kinds of things to plant trees. And this year, nobody, not the opposition parties, not the government, nobody seemed to care much about Arbor Day. So I was quite delighted to see this, especially because in the past, we actually on this show even had photos and reports where people were simply disgusted because they went to the likes of Okakweu, and outside the camp it looked like a pigsty.
Yeah.
And some of the bungalows were not in good shape and so on. So I'm really delighted to see that they're now trying to get their show together.
And what's particularly lovely to me about this story is that they replaced some of the older trees in the park.
Yeah, good stuff.
So they didn't just wait for it to die out and then, oh well, you know, they took an active look at what do we need to change
replace and make sure that the place is spruced up again.
Yeah.
So I think this is very, very urgent, and I'm delighted to see, because surely this will not only be Ministry of Environment and Tourism, it surely will include NWR. So yes, good stuff. Well done to them. So up next we've got Destination. I should have said destinations, because we always present more than one now.
Yeah, but we have one destination up first.
Yeah.
So as you can see in the background here, this is a snapshot that I, for some reason, absolutely adore. From the Independence Memorial Museum's Facebook page. So I paid a visit to the Independence Memorial Museum, and as a museum lover myself, I can say this was the most emotional museum visit I've ever had.
Okay.
You know, you're taught a certain version of history in school, and then you walk into a museum like that and you see what actually went on, and it's not as PG as you were taught. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see the struggles that had to come before we could get to where we are now. So this is quite historic. This statue of Sam Nujoma specifically replaced the very controversial Reiterdenkmal that I'll mention in the video as well as just the location. It was built by a North Korean firm, but we will find out all that in the video that I have prepared of my time at the museum.
The Independence Memorial Museum in Windhoek focuses on the anti-colonial resistance and the national liberation struggle of Namibia. It features a statue of founding President of Namibia, Dr. Sam Nujoma, holding a copy of the Namibian Constitution. The statue of Dr. Sam Nujoma is located at the site of the German-era Reiterdenkmal statue, which stood in its place for 102 years and was considered highly controversial. The museum consists of 4 floors that are open to the public, 3 of which are exhibits. The first floor, titled Colonial Repression, commemorates early resistance leaders of Namibia and the time that the country lived under South African rule. The second floor, titled Liberation, commemorates the South African Border War and the role of the People's Liberation Army of Namibia in the conflict. The third floor, entitled Road to Independence, details the activities of the Southwest African People's Organization and the United Nations Security Council's Resolution 435 and includes a viewing platform of the panoramic hall of the museum. According to historian Reinhard Kostler, the location of the museum is in itself special. He believes that it has broken up the ensemble of German monuments in Windhoek, as it is located between two colonial-era German buildings. The style of the building also contrasts the German colonial architectural style of the existing historical structures surrounding. The Independence Memorial Museum is built in the North Korean socialist realist style, which is meant to be symbolic of the modernist post-colonial state of Namibia. The Independence Memorial Museum is littered with mementos and tributes to the heroes who led Namibia through its colonial repression, liberation struggle, and eventually to an independent nation.
Yeah, so that was the video, but what is quite sad, actually at the time, quite a number of artists in the country were not impressed at all, because they felt much of the stuff that was presented and the way in which it was presented, they could have done better or should have been employed instead of Koreans, because I mean that money was out of the country, whereas these guys would have had a chance to earn some money. And the point is proven by the fact that on the big mural where they basically show von Trotha sort of looking down onto the people there and the sufferings that are going on, it's actually not von Trotha. It's Franke, who was in Omaruru. He was nowhere near von Trotha.
Yeah.
So in that respect, our government slipped up a bit on a nice opportunity to get the message out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so up next, we've got something very different, and we'll be just talking wildly to and fro here. But I'm one of these guys who quite strongly believe that, and you've heard me say it so often, people go to Kenya to get to know the people. They go to Tanzania to do the same. They go to South Africa. They go into Zulu villages, and for some reason, we don't promote that in our country.
Yeah.
We've got the same variety of people and cultures as Africa has in many instances. And so I remember the other day telling Wiebke Schmidt of the AZ that I actually like Mopani worms, the way that it is prepared.
Never had Mopani worms.
Yeah, and then I don't like the dry ones that you just eat, but if it's a proper meal, I actually enjoy them. So what Jemima Beekers has now done, she's gone to the Kommersdal open market, and if you look at the map, you will see the yellow line that goes, would I say, from right to left, is towards Kommersdal open market. But it is as you pass the Windhoek prison. So you pass Windhoek prison, go towards Kommersdal, and on the left you later have the Union School of Medicine. And just in that little corner there, you've got the Kommersdal open market. Now, what is interesting, it's on the corner of Hans Dietrich Genscher and Mahatma Gandhi Street, so easy names which you can easily remember. And what she specifically looked at is the Zambezi bream. It's a sought after delicacy in Namibia, and Namakau Sitole runs a kitchen at that open market and is locally renowned for the deep fried Zambezi bream, while on the other side of town in Banaheda, Memedidi sells a range of local cuisine, including Mopani worms, runaway chicken, and junkies. So if you don't comment on this, because don't say, I can't eat that. Because you haven't tested it. So first go there, and sometimes that's what you need to do, go there. And I'm sure if you join one of these guys who take you through town, and you would say to him, oh, actually this is what I want to have, I'm sure they'll take you there. But Jemima's prepared a little video for us.
Yes, my name is Emilia Otto, the owner of Wazambia restaurant in Katutura, Vanamenda, based in Claudia Gandovazi Street. They call it intersection of Omongo Street. Here is my business that I'm doing daily. I'm more focusing on traditional food, and I have our daily menu that we prepare when you are coming in. You find it already prepared. So we have a beef stew, then we have spaghetti, we have fried fish, then we have steamed pork, then I have chicken wing, and I have fish stew. And we focus also on more traditional food where we sell all the traditional. Just a salt, then I put vinegar on it. Yes. Let it cook for 2 minutes and you turn it around. So this one is a homemade ginger with lemon. It's a very, very nice juice. You can have it as for your healthy benefit, for a sore throat, for chronic disease. It's also helping. And with this nowadays, the disease that they're calling corona, if you have to drink this and you make it a little bit warm, so it's really helping to open your lungs nice, and you can feel it is helping you. So you can drink it also warm or you drink it cold. It depends on the way you want it, how you want to drink it, but you can have it for us like that. So it's called the lemon and ginger, and you can get there in 2 flavors. You can get ginger only or lemon only. So she's doing for 2 flavors. So you can call her. The details is on the bottle. Yes, you can see. You can call her 081 2164 140 Sarah. Then it's supplied. And the name of my business is Munitahile. Munitahile is a local, word which means dish for me. So in case when someone wants to come, we cook several foods, including the Zambezi brains. This fish we buy it from Katima. We normally get it from Katima, and we use the buses to transport our cooler boxes of fish up to here. So this is what we do in the market, and when it arrives here, we remove the intestines, the gills, so that it stays longer. At the moment, we are struggling because COVID has sorry about that. COVID has affected many of us. As you can see, in the market, it's quiet. The good people who were supporting us, they no longer come. Who would come and crowd themselves around here. But those days they would come, buy the fish, even important people. We have seen them coming with bodyguards around, but now this time they no longer come. So you can imagine what it's doing to us. The only problem is we cannot close, because can you imagine we have employed one person and that person is depending on that business to survive. So we just have to carry on, even when it's difficult. This is the fish. After we have received, we have removed, as I said earlier on, then we store in the fridge so that it continues looking fresh. Normally pre-pack them in packets like that. But for anyone who wants to buy and they don't want us to cook for them, they want to cook for themselves, they're still welcome to come and buy uncooked fish, and they cook the way they
Yeah, there you have it. And then we had quite a healthy discussion here between ourselves now. Matthias took part in it as well. Obviously, Matthias is our mixer, always in the background, but reliable. And we were talking about whether you should eat kapana, yes or no. And I think we're all in agreement that if you're a visitor and you are not used to kapana the way that local people are, you would be advised to maybe go to such places as the ones that were mentioned here. Rather take it from a place where you know there are health standards that are maintained, and you will still enjoy the meal. It tastes exactly the same because the way that you prepare it is exactly the same. So that's just a word of advice. So up next, we've got Desert Grace. And what happened here, many of you will remember we had it on the show before. Desert Grace is as you go down from Solitaire towards Sesrim and Sossusvlei. And what happened here is Alexander Faser, he's in charge of designing and production at NMH. He went down to Desert Grace again, and then obviously made these photos as he went down past Solitaire. You obviously had the apple pie. You have to have it when you're at Solitaire. And then carried on to Desert Grace, and he made this photo of this Vilibius that was trying to race the car. Actually ends up racing right in front of the vehicle, as they always do when you don't watch it. But I just felt, seeing that he has been down there, just to give you a little reminder of what the area looks like, and it obviously looks very nice. This is Desert Grace from inside now, and they spent a weekend there now recently, and I said, don't worry, just send me the photos and videos, whatever you've got. And this is really an offer to any reader or listener or whatever. If you've got an exciting weekend or just spent an exciting weekend and you want to tell us about it, do it. This was a video, not a video, an image which he shot of the night sky. And here this was actually a video that he took where he literally put his pod down and then took a video of the sun rising. So this here you can clearly see how over time the colors fade and change and take different hues of pink and then of yellow and whatever. So it's quite a intriguing little video that he made. Here you can see the sun is coming up and finally ending up on the red sand, and actually proving later on that it's not only red but it's actually even yellow and so on. So these sort of things you're welcome to send to us. This was obviously a photo which he took at Sesrim Canyon, and this we obviously know as your typical Sossusvlei image of the trees and so on. And Desert Grace is obviously a lodge of Gondwana collection, but it doesn't really matter which lodge or where you've done it. Just for fairness sake, we would always want to tell the people which lodge it was.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to send us clips or interesting snippets of information that you've got when you were on holiday and you feel you would like to share that, by all means.
Especially if they look something like that sunrise.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there was a different idea. So he said, yeah, but it's boring. I said, no, anything but. And I know he knows it's not boring, but he probably expected us to regard it as boring. So whether you take photos of a Gemsbok or whatever you do, just if you consider it worth your while, then it is worth all our while, because the point of this show is to promote Namibia as a tourism destination, no more and no less. And it won't cost you a cent. Quite the contrary, we're thankful for your contribution. So anyway, that was it. Those were our destinations this week. Up next, we've got To The Point.
If you're feeling it, I'm feeling it, you know I won't stop. All we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop. All we gotta do is take our love to the top. I will ride for you, maybe even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.
Yeah, welcome back to The Point. The reason why I brought up this video today that you'll see just now is quite simple. Many people always ask me, Frank, but why are you so against the whole Recon Africa oil exploration up in the Kavango? And the answer is very simple, and I've said it so often, but I'll repeat it. It's not that I've got a principal problem with Recon Africa or any sort of mining endeavor. I've got a problem when we've got a law that dictates how environmental impact assessment should be done, which has all these little places that you need to tick. You've adhered to this law, to this law, to this law, this regulation. You've made sure that you can drill and you may access the water table. Yes, and you've got a proper authorization to actually sink a hole for your exploration purposes, and you've submitted your design and shown how it will be. You've submitted your design of your slag pit, and you will be sure that it's safe and sound and nobody will have any damage. And so we carry on. You've asked the population whether it's okay, because why? We've got a communal act that dictates that you first ask the people, you explain to them, you tell them exactly what's going on, and if they then agree, then they have to submit a form, which is done by a chief, not a headman, a chief, and then finally it goes to the regional council who can approve it, but even they can only approve it once the communal forestry representatives have approved it. So there are many places to go and do your thing, and that has not been done. Yeah. I'm not saying that that Recon Africa did nothing at all. No, but there's nowhere in this country that you can get an EIA approved, and thereafter you start ticking the various items, and now you've got all the time in the world to lie and go about and say what you've all done, but it has not been done. The point of the EIA is you finish it and then it is approved. It's not being approved and then you adhere to all the boxes. And so instead of always boring you with the same story, I thought I'd get this video from Rewild simply to show why the Kavango needs to remain what it is.
Imagine a place where everything is connected by water. From the smallest forms of life to the most majestic and powerful. Which obviously the water that comes into this place disappears into the Kalahari sand. It does not connect at all into an ocean or sea.
All what we have here, wildlife, birds, vegetation, and everything because of water. So we really need water, and water is very important here.
It's definitely one of the areas that is untouched, and you can't even see a village or a town, anything modern at all. This place where I'm sitting right now, it's called Okavango Delta. It's one of the most beautiful delta in the world. Mass tourism is one of the biggest problems of the impact on the environment. It's negative for the local population, landscapes, and at the end it's also a huge problem for the wildlife. Tourism in Botswana in general is very, very good. We obviously put in place a method whereby there's a very high value and low volume. So whereby we attract a small number of people and you just leave your footprints and take nothing. People want to come to a place where it's not too busy so that they can enjoy the pristine wildlife and a very peaceful experience.
With my passion, the passion that I have, I want to see this natural place to be like this all the way. And it can be like this if we all work hand in hand together to protect it.
We must learn how to travel like humans, not like tourists, to respect and take care of the nature and our surroundings.
I would love to pass the message to the world. Let us all put our hands together to save wildlife. If we don't stand up together, if we don't unite, we are going to lose most of the pristine natural resources that we have here.
Right, there you have it. It's a video I copied from Rewild. Some of you might remember we had that thingy last week where they explained why Recon Africa was not their cup of tea. And today I just wanted to show you just how huge the whole Kaza principle is, because this was obviously just one part of Kaza. Now, if you go up to Zimbabwe, you still have that huge area coming back into Zambia, going over into the lower part of Zambia into Angola. So exactly the migration routes of all the elephants. And that's why it's so important to maintain that and make sure that for once in our lives, we leave some space to animals and not only just grab it all for ourselves.
I think that's the beauty of Namibia is that, I mean, we just spoke earlier about me being from South Africa, and one of the big things coming to Namibia was the towns are so far apart.
Yeah.
We used to live in Robertson when I was younger, and we drive 15, 20 minutes to Worcester. And here, you drive 2 hours from Windhoek to Albania.
For sure.
And that's the beautiful thing about Namibia. Is
and that's
that
what makes us
you just-
scarcely populated, and that's what makes us, by the way, safe during COVID times. So anyway, that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And we aim to keep it a bit shorter, so let's see how it goes in the future. But I think that way we hopefully won't lose you halfway through the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
And so next week, same time, again on a Sunday. Until then, remain healthy and enjoy the rest of the weekend.